DFS show with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FA Nation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Live show for the Wednesday 11-game main slate. Your boy Grande was on today's NBA DFS Playbook. It has been as expected, I think, today. You know, we knew there was going to be some injury news about. We just got the Darius Garland news not too long ago. We did the preview show this morning. We kind of anticipated this slate could be a bit hectic here. Some of the top roster players, we discussed, we had some expectations that this is where maybe the field would be looking to go here today. But there's still plenty of time for more news to come through, plenty of time for more guys to get ruled out. 7 p.m. Eastern roster lock tonight, so hopefully we will get some news while we're live here on this show. Grande, again, you did the deep dive today, man. How are you feeling about things?
Nothing like having 11 games and two teams ruling guys that were previously out in and guys that were in out. So Let's get to it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, clarity as mud here. Clear as mud, as they say. Ronaldo in the chat saying let's go. Justin in the chat saying what's up. Cakes saying afternoon. Let's go. We got that going on here for y'all. Top overall price plays on the slate. A lot to talk about. Jokic, Luka up over $12,000 here. That's it. Other than that, you got under $10,000 plays, which we'll dive into as we go to the point guard position. Luka, 12.5. Cade Cunningham's $9,900. You had the Booker at 92, and Reeves at 9K. We talked about this last night, whether or not there's value to spending up for Luka Doncic on this slate against Denver, or if we're just kind of looking at Cade Cunningham matchups aside, going up against Miami, of looking to spend up the value. A lot of value today, a lot of value at the guard position, especially. Where do you stand now after doing a day of playbooks here, Grande?
I still like Luka quite a bit. Can definitely get there. Whether or not Denver is healthy, they're not a good defensive team. So I like Luka at 12.5 if you want to get there. Still not a lot of interest in Cade, but you can always play Cade Cunningham sub 10K in a tournament. Miami's at a free fall. I like Devin Booker quite a bit. I like Austin Reeves quite a bit. I do think that the wrinkle of Darius Garland being out is very interesting for one Donovan Mitchell. That's where a lot of my attention kind of shifted. It's obviously a back-to-back for Cleveland. You and I had kind of I made the assumption it would have been Mitchell sitting. I was wrong. We were, regardless, kind of right.
We haven't gotten let them know yet.
Haven't gotten let them know. They're at 10 p.m., so I don't think it's going to be – we'll probably get it sooner rather than later. But I'm very interested with the Garland shifting to Donovan Mitchell. The numbers are really good this year without Darius Garland. 25% assist percentage, almost a 35% usage rate, 1.4 essentially, we'll call it 1.4 fantasy points per minute. They've lost 2 games in a row for like the first time in what seems like forever. And I think the interesting part is they are now tied with OKC. I know conference to conference. What do you mean? Well, if you're Cleveland and you are the best team, like record-wise, you think, well, I'm going to beat Boston and go to the finals. And if they do, the best record in each whoever has the best overall record has home court in the finals. So if you're Cleveland, these games do matter more than, I guess, like your 7-game lead in the East, because they're not going to lose that. Like they're gonna win the East. So I think that we're going to continuously get these Mitchell minutes, and that had been something of a talking point for us, like mostly throughout the year. Cleveland has a really deep team and has been willing to play their guys a lot. Donovan Mitchell has not necessarily played well of late. This is a get-right spot. Sacramento is 23rd in defensive rating since the month of March took off. Cleveland obviously is an elite offense, and Donovan Mitchell, no, Darius Garland's an elite play. So I am looking for Donovan Mitchell to get back on track. The last 2 games that Darius Garland sat, John, this thing that you and I have said forever, Donovan Mitchell hashtag, no, not let him know. Hashtag point Donnie was our thing for a long time previously. Anytime in Utah or in the previous, head coaching regime in Cleveland, we would get point Donovan Mitchell, and it would be a lot of fun.
Coming off an 11 assist game against Clippers.
Coming off an 11 assist game. They've started Isaac Okoro in each of the last 2 games that Darius Garland has sat, so they have directly gone to this point Mitchell thing. So, yeah, I think throughout the day, or in the last hour, rather, since Darius Garland has been ruled out, I've really started to trend towards another shooting guard, small or point guard shooting guard that I love in this range, because you and I talked about it yesterday. Ant, Booker, Reeves, Bane, now Mitchell, all great plays. Can't go wrong in that tier, but I really do like Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland quite a bit today.
Yeah, I think the other thing that's kind of interesting is that because there's so much value, again, at the guard spots, that we're not really getting like a ton of ownership on any of those guys that we had.
Except Luka.
Yeah, even Luka is under 20%, right?
Yeah.
So, I would have thought that maybe there'd be more, but they're not. They're going to the value. So we'll hit on those guys, obviously, at shooting guard. Mitchell, great spot. Quentin Grimes, again, breaking slates, $8,600. No one's playing him today, right? They're just going down to value. Giddey's back. We highlighted Giddey, potentially in a really great spot if the minutes were going to be there, given the way that he has played. If no one's spending up, if Luke is your top spend up on the slate, and he's, at the guard position especially, and no one else is really going there. I mean, him and Joker, right, are under 20% still. Does it make sense to maybe go more fair and balanced, or do you like getting the low rostered stud?
As a general concept versus like this slate, I do like getting the low end stud. Like that like conceptually, right? Like if I say this to you 24/7, if I can get Nikola Jokic low owned, I play Nikola Jokic. It's kind of that translates to Luka too. I still think there's going to end up being a lot of ownership on Luka because we still have a bunch of news to go and even more value to potentially open up, especially with this Washington stuff. I don't know if what value was killed off when they decided to play smart and
right guys that we thought weren't going to play, doubtful and out.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I think there's a case for both. I love the mid-tier build because you and I did it last night. We got
3 9K plays right
in the mid-tier. You can get Luka plus anything you want or Jokic plus anything you want tonight because the value. It just depends on how you're roster building. Generally, my brain will say lone star plus something. But I do also really like that 3 upper 8, lower 9K tier build as well today. It just all depends on your preference. To like your point, getting 2 of those stud guards or 2 of those like upper mid tier, lower star tier guards is a very contrarian.
And they all have 60 plus 50 plus fantasy point upside.
All of them.
Basically if you would just like sort by guard, right? Like from Luka down to Donovan Mitchell today, right? And even lower, there's guys with 50 plus,
Westbrook, Westbrook played for 60 last slate if he plays, if they're out, right? Like you can make a case for all these dudes.
So again, go by Giddey. Like definitely would like him. If Halliburton was in, would be in a great spot against Dallas. Kobe White's been playing really well. $8,000 for him. Westbrook, as you mentioned, guys are out. Huge upside there. Where do you, how are you deciding, I guess, where to play? Because you and I, we talk about this all the time. And in this slate, it probably hurts us a little bit more, but we're single entry, single lineup players. we rattled off 14 guys that we like. We're not going to be able to play them all, so we have to pick right. Or maybe tonight's I go and enter like the $4.20 max or something like that. I just splurge a little bit with the bankroll. We're 4-0 in our baseball bets, so the DraftKings account's looking pretty good. So maybe we splurge a little bit here. Who am I kidding? I got golf and NASCAR to play this week. So where do we go next when it comes to point guard?
14 guys. We're not past 8K. I did write up Quentin Grimes, and I started my write up today, John. I said, I cannot believe we're here, but we're here. That's how the write up started. Without PG and Embiid, Maxey, and not like funneling through anything else, just taking off those three guys. Quentin Grimes has a 33% usage rate and averages 1.3 fantasy points per minute. He scored 25 plus actual points in 5 straight and has 46 and 13 against Houston, who's right now the 2 seed in the West. Like, if
you just covered his name and said a point guard on the 76ers has been doing this lately, like, oh, like Maxey's having a really good year.
Yeah. Or if you didn't say this was there, you were just like, who is this player? Just like no team context, you'd be like,
SGA is looking pretty
Devin
good.
Booker. Yeah, SGA, Devin Booker, like name your high 20 scorer. It's been Grimes. So if you want to go to Grimes, Giddey's fine in tournaments, Kobe White's fine in tournaments. I think some of the Sacramento stuff is okay. No Sabonis, but it's just okay to me. Obviously, the Westbrook thing would stand out if one starter were out, because we've seen it over and over again. If one of them are out, Russell Westbrook starts. Like, that's no matter who it is, that's the plug. It's just Westbrook. Then after that, like, I like Stephon Castle at 66. I don't love Stephon Castle. I like him. I like the matchup. The Knicks, and I wrote it in the playbook, the Knicks are better defensively without Jalen Brunson. They are not a better team without Jalen Brunson. That's not the same thing, because they can't score. But they are better defensively with Miles McBride than they are. And the numbers
Jalen Brunson's 6 foot nothing, he is
an elite offensive player that can't defend, and that's okay. They are second in the month of March in defense, John, behind the Detroit Pistons, which right now is your 3-6 matchup. So that would be fun.
Did Utah become any more appealing now that Markkanen's out? No.
I know what you're saying. If you want to play him, play him.
I don't want to. I'm asking you if there's any lean towards one of the 4 guards that are active.
One, you just said it. There's 4 of them. Two of them have been up and down in terms of minutes. When Keontae George plays, he's typically high 20s, low 30s. Isaiah Collier is going to start. Seems to be the most safe in terms of minutes on a game-to-game basis. Jordan Clarkson's barely played. And then Colin Sexton plays 30, 20, 30. So, like, is it going to be a 20 or is it going to be a 30? If you're playing large, for a single entry player, it's fine. I'm not even really entertaining it. For a large field tournament MME player, then I think that there's some merit to getting to Utah, especially when you take off Markkanen and John Collins, who's obviously been like a super high usage player this year. So like in large field stuff,
what
I think
Poole
Utah's
on the
fine.
other side.
I'm a little like on the fence, because when you look at, even with them when you look at the way that Washington deployed their rotation last game, yes, it was a blowout. It was double digits basically the whole game. Jordan Poole didn't start the second half, didn't play in the second half. Chris Middleton didn't start the second half, didn't play in the second half. Is that a product of what's to come? Because Washington's like, damn, we've been winning too much, but we're now not going to be the worst team ever, so we're good. We don't want to get fined, but we're just going to play our guys half, right? So I think we kind of got like Toronto is the starters of this, right? Where they're playing their guys and then they don't close with their guys. instead of gonna bench everyone and get fined, that Toronto has found a loophole where we could play him. We just won't play him in the second half or the fourth quarter. I think that's what's going to happen here. So I'm probably out. And if I lose to that, I lose to that. But I can't be confident in their minutes, regardless of situation. So I am indifferent about Washington. Those primary pieces, Smart, Poole. They ruled out Keyshawn George. That's really it. The veteran guys, I'm just not overly confident in. I think that this is largely a position after that I would just live.
Butler's getting some ownership. He's up over 20%.
Dude, people will play. I tweeted it earlier today because he was 40% earlier today. People will play this guy if he's $10,000. People will want to play Jared Butler. I don't know. I probably won't be playing chalky Jared Butler at 6,000.
Cole Anthony just ruled out. Corey Joseph starting again for Orlando. You mentioned value, right? That's kind of where the ownership currently sits. AJ Johnson, someone you highlighted for Washington, is currently your highest roster point guard for the day. Does that change now? Is it Cason Wallace or Scottie Pippen who are right below him in ownership? What do you consider to be the top value play now?
Okay. AJ Johnson. And I think Jordan Poole started last game. Chris Middleton was in that game. So was Keyshawn George. Chris Middleton and Keyshawn George, for now, because Washington could apparently just rule people in, are out. So I do think that they're going to play Johnson in the starting lineup, and he's going to play. And if Poole and Smart don't play in the second half, that is better for AJ Johnson. But I think you factor in the minutes last game, the start last game, the price, and the matchup. He is pretty hard to get away from, whether or not Poole and Marcus Smart have been added to the equation again. So I think AJ Johnson still is an elite value. I do like Cason Wallace. I wrote him up in the playbook. He's looked really, really good when he's been extended, especially lately. 29 plus minutes in the last 5 times he's played 29 plus minutes. He's had basically 30 fantasy points. And he's smashed at the price every time. So I do like Cason Wallace. You can do the Ty Jerome thing if you want at $4,500. I do think the wrinkle of DeAndre Hunter, where we would see Jerome extended more in the first half of the year, or we'd be more confident in Jerome, I think, previous to the All-Star break, previous to the DeAndre Hunter acquisition. The minutes would be extended more. The minutes have been fine when there's been no Darius Garland. The production is great. Super high fantasy point per minute guy, 1.2 without Garland on the floor this year. 25% usage is really solid. I don't think, unless he is just cooking, and then the trash talk comes out where he'd be starting on Orlando. I don't think he's gonna play 30 minutes, especially with everyone on the wing healthy. But I do think mid-20s minutes is all he would need to really put up a crooked number. He is a really good fantasy scorer in a really small pocket. So I like Ty Jerome amongst the other guys.
Over Pippen, if he's in.
And then Pippen is definitely he's just a really good fantasy player. So no, I probably lean Scotty. But if you're talking ownership, I would expect, no matter what happens, I'd expect Scottie Pippen to have higher ownership. I never think on this slate, Ty Jerome's what? 2%. I never expect Ty Jerome's ownership to probably get up past 5%. Cheese pizza.
Your wife wants to know if you want cheese pizza. Is that I mean, yeah, probably, right? Are you a toppings fan, I guess is the question? Pepperoni.
Yeah, we do pepperoni. Yeah, if it's from our favorite
Halliburton just
establishment,
ruled out, by the way. Break.
well, maybe we'll get the Siakam. Maybe we'll get the Siakam news to follow. This is another one. Another one.
In.
Yeah, they already ruled out, and they already took everyone
so
off.
No Halliburton tonight, so we get Nembhard, Siakam,
McConnell,
Mark creeping around in here. Always cheese.
Well, like yes, cheese on the pizza, of course, but
Mark doesn't like toppings on his pizza. I'm a pepperoni, a well done. Order it well done, nice and crispy. Pepperoni.
Nice. Yeah, we are same with the well done side of pizza for sure. Well done pizza. Oh, right. My son just started like dabbling in the pepperoni, where like my daughter will eat like everything. She's so we usually go like half. If we're doing pepperoni, we'll usually do well done pizza, half pepperoni.
As Power saying, half pepperoni, half sausage, and then cheese, which is also doable.
Italian sausage,
like a half meat lovers, half cheese, you know. So.
No, not meat lovers. No,
that's fine.
No.
Little meatball, sausage, pepperoni.
The Halliburton stuff, like, so you look at numbers sans Tyrese Halliburton this year. TJ McConnell leads in fantasy points per minute, 1.2. I don't know if we're going to get the minutes, but he also has a 26% usage. I don't know if I'd go there at 5K with like everything else being in. It's just
he got 30 minutes versus Minnesota. You know? Everybody was out and never got ejected.
And never got ejected. He obviously played extremely well. We know that he could do like that is what.
But he needed all of that to happen for him to play 30 minutes.
Yeah. So indifferent about Halliburton. Siakam will almost guaranteed Siakam's ownership skyrockets. 23, about 24% usage, 1.1 fantasy points per minute. That's solid. I'd be interested to see what they do. Ben Matherin's probably a candidate to start here if they wanted to do like because you could just play Nembhard. You play Nembhard on the ball. They could also.
I gotta say, like every time we think Matt, here's the problem, right?
Not last time. They did Darius Walker.
Like they don't want Mathurin in these spots. I also worry about Mathurin in these spots because when there's other guys that can be good, they are, and he isn't, right? Like you need Mathurin by himself to have the ceiling Mathurin game. So
the stats,
which almost isn't necessarily true because like Obi Toppin smoked last game, and like other guys are good around Mathurin. But like the bench guys were. If he's playing with any of the starters, Ben Mathurin like just doesn't generally play well. So
I'm gonna say this: the stats are in Ben Matherin's favor.
Sure.
No Halliburton, 27% usage over a fantasy point per minute this year. If he is starting against
but that's just no Halliburton. What's it with Siakam on the floor and like put him on with the line he's gonna play with, and if I'm wrong,
but I'll put him on with but he's not going to spend 30 plus minutes with only the starters.
If he starts, I mean, his rotation minutes are going to be more within line the starters than they will be the bench guys.
With Pascal Siakam, it's a 25% usage, and he's still at 1.03 fantasy points per minute.
It doesn't feel like it's hit that more often than not, but the numbers are the numbers here.
If he has to start.
Yeah. How do we see Washington value Faisal? We just kind of went over this. We like Johnson still. They ruled in Poole. Looks like Smart's going to play. There was a wing we liked for Washington as well.
Keyshawn George is out. Yeah. We will get to the other Washington stuff because there's been ownership on and off guys all day long, and we'll talk about them in a few.
All right, let's go to shooting guard here. Again, if you watch the preview show, we probably spent 15 minutes just talking about like these top 5 shooting guards. You can play all of them. We built, I think, with 3 of them. I think we built with 3, and we used like Chet as our center on the preview show. Like fair and balance ish is kind of the start. It's stars and scrub plus, because like stars and scrubs is usually like 2 10K plus guys and a bunch of whatever. We fit 3 9K plays, and we're like, yeah, this lineup looks awesome. So I don't have do you have a strong lean on which of the 5 you'd prefer to play if you're building one lineup today?
Donovan Mitchell.
Donnie Mitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Edwards, I would probably rank, if I'm ranking them, Mitchell, Edwards, Booker, Reeves, Bane.
Okay. Bane's 3rd for you, hey?
Bane's 5th.
5th for me, hey? Yeah.
Bane's last, yes.
Alrighty.
That's how I'd rank them.
I mean, again, if they all finish within a couple of points of each other tonight, I would not be surprised.
No, I mean, they could all, each of these guys has 50, 60 plus in the bag.
I got a Prize Picks promo today. It was like, got to pick 3 goblins projections, and I took Reeves, Edwards, and Booker all at 19.5 points. So,
yeah, I mean, that feels really good.
Yeah, I mean it's a crap payout because it was a free goblin pick.
Yeah, goblin,
but
yeah,
like
goblins. Yeah.
Free money to lose tomorrow. So that's fine.
Yeah.
All right, so you can play any one of them. That's fine. Yeah. Ryan likes Green and Bane.
Green.
Jalen Green, that is.
We haven't gotten there. I like what Jalen Green's done, but I would not put him in that same category as the others.
Not against Orlando tonight. It's not saying he can't. He can.
He definitely in the bag. Definitely in the bag.
100% can. But as we've talked about in an 11-game slate, you kind of just have to like axe a game, and a game with a less than 210 total to me is got to be one you axe, right?
Yeah, that game I essentially have no interest in. I don't think I wrote up a single player.
What's it? 208, 209, something like that.
Yeah, it's gross.
You were correct. Brandon Williams is out tonight. We didn't talk Dallas guards, but you had speculated, given the amount of game playing time he had remaining, and that Jaden Hardy could be back here today. Brandon Williams is out tonight. So where does Jaden Hardy fit in the world of lineups for you?
Send him to freaking Real Madrid, following Luka's footsteps.
Des likes Isaiah Joe. We'll get there.
I if I'm playing Dallas guard, it's probably Clay. Is that confirmed?
Wait, what? I don't see anything on Clay. Someone saying Clay's up?
Jaden Hardy available to play. I don't see Klay Thompson out as of right now.
I see Kai Jones in. We talked about that one.
Nailed that whole thing right there.
Power, where are you seeing Clay out? Power. I feel like we would have got that news first.
I don't see anything with. Yeah, I don't see anything with Clay. If I'm playing a guard on Dallas, it's probably Spencer Dinwiddie. That would probably be the guard I'd play. He's cheap. He's playing a lot. This is two like high-paced offenses. He's the point guard, and there's 40. Spencer Dinwiddie might play 40 minutes tonight. It wouldn't surprise me. Dallas, for what it's worth, Dallas is, even with Hardy and Kai Jones back, are still incredibly short-handed. So, especially in the guard room, him and Jaden Hardy are the only 2 ball handlers with Brandon Williams out. So, I don't have a lot of interest in Jaden Hardy unless he's starting, and I don't think he starts. I would have interest in Spencer Dinwiddie though at 55.
Oh, there it is. Klay Thompson out. It is confirmed.
Jason Kidd just said Klay Thompson is out. Brandon Williams too.
Yep.
Yeah,
I got it. Klay Thompson out.
So in the scenario now that Klay is out, Najee, PJ, Dinwiddie, Kai Jones, Max Christie, Kessler Edwards, Jaden Hardy, Dwight Powell. So they have 8 guys again. 8.
Love it.
They have 8 players.
Nothing better than paying and playing.
7 p.m. 7 p.m. window. 8 players for Dallas.
I don't think I'm paying an 8K for Najee Marshall though. I'd play PJ Washington.
That was
PJ Washington would be the guy that I would play. And you mentioned Dinwiddie and Kai Jones. I'd play.
I might have to change my tune on Jaden Hardy 2 seconds after, because now Dallas is gonna presumably start Dinwiddie, PJ, Najee for sure. Then it's probably, but the last 3 spots between like Edwards, Christie, Kai Jones. That would probably be.
You think they start PJ at the 5 and not start Kai? Have Kai be the backup 5?
And Kessler Edwards as like your hybrid. Him and PJ just like hybrid.
Put Kessler back at his actual
whoever. Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do.
It's 7 o'clock start time.
They have 8 guys, so I say this every time. In a situation that a team has 8 players, I have natural interest in that team. Like, it just is going to be.
Usually those guys are cheaper.
Usually they're cheaper, but like if Kai Jones and Jaden Hardy are both limited, right? Because they're both just coming back from injury, there's going to be 5 guys that probably play at least 35 minutes.
PJ Washington, right?
Yeah, I mean, dude, PJ, one game after supposedly having a limit is going to play 40 minutes. Spencer Dinwiddie is going to play 40 minutes. Like this, you just have to reconfigure your thoughts now that Clay and
PJ Washington fits the build that we had yesterday, just flipping him for Chet, not having to change too much there.
I would really like to see how that ownership adjusts, because I wrote it in the playbook today, and PJ Washington's ownership hasn't changed really. It's been 1% all day long. It's not going to be 1% anymore, but I would like to see where it ends up with Chet and with Pascal, basically where they are, right? Because it's like Siakam's 83, PJ 78, Chet 76. So I'd like to see how that all plays out, but let's get back to shooting guard, because there's an endless amount of value after that.
Yeah, let's just get into it, obviously, because we could spend forever here. Get past that top group. Are you looking at anybody in the 6K tier?
No, but I am now looking at Spencer Dinwiddie. Max Christie at $5,000 looked really good last game. We just talked Matherin. Neesmith is here, 53 with no.
I mean, Dinwiddie, to your point, Dinwiddie's already playing a trillion minutes. So,
dude, he's playing 40 minutes tonight. 40 minutes. Pencil his long goatee that I'm starting to grow. I'm starting to grow the Spencer Dinwiddie. Pencil our goatee in. I'll call it our goatee for 40 minutes.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to Aaron Wiggins yet, so
we have not. Yeah, we'll get there.
We're on shooting guard.
Goose Brava. Yes, we will get there.
Rewind. We talked McConnell already.
Rewind. Isaiah Joe is in play for sure. I would, to be fair, there's a lot of we know there's a lot of variations of lineups that OKC can run. Best case for Isaiah Joe is Case and Wallace being out, because then there's obviously he's just starting. Same thing with Hartenstein.
I'm kidding with you, my guy. It's cool.
We're kidding. We're kidding. I like Isaiah Joe for sure. I think the price is really good. He has a very high ceiling, really good offensive basketball player. So I like Isaiah Joe, 43.
Do you like him or Hardy? Because that's the same price.
Probably Isaiah Joe, especially if he's starting. And especially one of them's coming off an injury and
Hardy
one's not.
starts though. Do you think the minutes are there?
Oh boy, I don't know. We'd have to know. We'd have to hear that from Kid. Yeah, yes-ish. You know, like He didn't speak on anything. It was an ankle sprain. He missed 7 games. So he didn't say anything, just like looking through notes. He didn't say anything in terms of minutes. Jason Kidd has been someone to give us like that quote on like minutes or some type of limitation, but I don't know.
I mean, we know this dude is a bucket. So
I would probably lean Isaiah Joe. I would probably also lean Cason Wallace over Hardy, like if he plays, which we've talked about already, but like if Hardy starts, there's obviously a little bit of consideration.
Just to re-rack the McConnell question there for Too Legit. If he starts, I'd like him more. I don't think he's going to start. And then the minutes that he'll play could just be 20 to 22, and they just play everybody else. Like he very rarely gets extended, with the exception of just the perfect storm last week where everybody was already out and then Nembhard got ejected. So, maybe he plays mid-20s as a ceiling. He can be good in that. He can definitely be good in mid-20s, but, a little bit tougher. We had a Champagny question. Which Champagny was it? It was
definitely Justin, because Justin's getting all the ownership again.
Okay, yeah. Power asked about Champagny, and so did Josie. Okay, so it wasn't Julian.
My assumption is it would be.
He's $3,800, and he's been playing minutes, and he's been playing well.
Yeah, I'm a little indifferent with all the value that has opened up, but if you end up there, it's not a bad play.
Let's see. Did we just get an ownership bump here? Let's see. Got something. We got ownership? Not yet. Not yet on that ownership move. Well, when we get it, we'll give it to you. All right, small forward. Where are we going here?
Sorry, I was updating.
No worries. Wiggins is where the chalk is.
Yeah, he's for sure good. I mean, the numbers are elite. The numbers are just elite. If you're just looking at who is out, SGA, Dort, J-Dub, Aaron Wiggins' numbers are elite. 28.7% usage rate. That's an 8.8% usage bump. 1.14 fantasy points per minute. Then there's the part that Cason Wallace and Isaiah Hartenstein might be out. And then you're talking about, oh, right, that guy just gave us 30 the other night versus when this same scenario played out and it was just the fight in Aaron Wiggins and they won.
My only thing that it doesn't necessarily skew it at all, obviously, but like there's no minute sample size for Chet without these guys on the floor.
None.
Like there's nothing.
20 minutes.
So like we have no idea what a 30+ minute sample in one game of Chet Holmgren when all of those guys could look like. He could take 25 shots and be the best player on the floor. We don't know. We have no idea. His usage rate sucks without SGA on the floor. Like no numbers look good for him without SGA, but we have no sample size of him really on the floor without those two. So very difficult to really project what he's going to do, or how Wiggins maybe would be affected by like a full run Chet. So that's kind of the one caveat. That said, like I still think he's a good play. Obviously at $5,100 there. You mentioned Justin Champagny getting the love here. If he starts, we have to be in. If they don't start him, he could play 19 minutes again. We have no idea. It'd be hard to trust not in the lineup.
Yeah, the ownership has kind of fallen off. It's because I don't think anybody understands what's Washington. Like nobody can comprehend what Washington's doing. Jalen Martin was getting all the
last refresh. He dropped pretty dramatically.
Then they ruled everyone in. He was getting no ownership anymore. And then we're talking about a guy in Champagny who had played 30+ minutes and then suddenly was replaced in the starting lineup and only played 19. And you cannot pay $5,400 for.
And he had been really good in those games. I don't really get the.
He had been really good, The thing that possibly helps here is that Keyshawn George was ruled out. That could be his saving grace, where they go back to small ball 4, Keyshawn George is out. But also, they might play Colby Jones, who was getting a bunch of ownership, the former King that we'll talk about in a second. He, at one point today, was getting a bunch of ownership. So there's a lot of unknown stuff with Washington that I don't even know how to comment on. Colby Jones is $3,200 at shooting guard small forward. There's a lot of Washington stuff other than AJ Johnson that I'm very uncomfortable with because we just don't know
getting
what
Smart
they're
and
doing.
pullback really threw a wrench into what we were thinking about doing with Washington.
And the field, because the field was on this guy, and they were on Martin, and they were on AJ Johnson, and the only one that's kept up the ownership is AJ Johnson because he started, right? Like he was the one that started last game. So all the Washington stuff is kind of TBD. I think I can definitively tell you I am not surprised to see the Ryan Dunn ownership skyrocket the way that it has because Ryan Dunn is now 20%. He was getting no ownership today. He had a 30% usage rate last game. Third straight game that Ryan Dunn has been over 24%. And if Ryan Dunn is going to continue to shoot the basketball, he's a great play. They're down Plumlee. They're down Beal. They're down Grayson Allen. They're not going back to the lineups that they were going to. They're playing Ryan Dunn. They're playing Oso Ighodaro. So I like Ryan Dunn in the value range. Jaime Jaquez, 4,100. No Andrew Wiggins
just ruled out for those seeing.
Really good. Yeah, really good play. He's getting a lot of ownership on his behalf. And then I think like going back up the list, I think a couple names that we probably consider. I would consider Najee Marshall for what it's worth, just given the minutes and how shorthanded they are. He's also given us a ceiling when they've been shorthanded.
So expensive
Josh,
for what he is as a basketball player.
Yeah, but I don't think this version of Najee Marshall looks all too different than Josh Hart when you factor in what Dallas is asking of Najee Marshall. You can say what you are the first person to say players in specific roles. Najee Marshall has a vastly different role today than he did a month ago. And he has shown us a triple-double ceiling during this window, during this, like, whatever is happening in Dallas. Like, whatever voodoo magic is going on in Dallas, Najee Marshall has been a different player. So him and Josh Hart, to me, look pretty similar. One of them's getting ownership, one of them's not. So in a tournament, I think Najee Marshall is definitely the pivot off Hart. I think Hart looks great. Hart obviously has the better spot.
Hart has shown more consistently, at least the rebounding ceiling's been there, and things like that. So. Correct.
But it's just we're just talking about a different role for Najee Marshall. So even the consistency part is a little skewed. That will obviously be favored to Hart because Hart's been starting. Like he's been in opportunity has been given to him all year. And I think everyone's like sour grapes on Denny Avdia for no reason. The guy's been the most popular play of the slate for two slates in a row. Lost time to blowout last time out. They were up 22 and they took him out in the fourth quarter. And he was good against Toronto, and now no one's playing him. And he's cheaper than the other two. So in a massive face-up spot against Memphis. So those are three guys I would mention. And then the Knicks guys, OG and Mikal Bridges. Salute to both those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I said I was in on OG Anunoby this morning. Haven't really changed my tune on that. I still think that I prefer him over Bridges, but Bridges is obviously cheaper. And for that reason, you can get a little salary relief there. He's also a little bit more popular. Bridges among the top 6 rostered small forwards today. So, power forward again, not a position where ownership's really up on the expensive guys. Dual positional eligibility for Chet and Durant driving a lot of that. Those are the 2 top price guys at this spot here.
Yeah, and they're the best 2 spend-ups. I do think we could definitely look at Evan Mobley And I think I'd be more than willing to go back to Evan Mobley. I wrote it in the playbook after the Darius Garland status was dropped. He leads the team 1.52 fantasy points per minute with no Darius Garland this year. 25% usage rate. And no one's going to play him. I don't think a lot of people are going to go to Evan Mobley. He was bad last night per minute, and the price probably scares people away. But if Evan Mobley plays mid-30s minutes and gets you 1.5 fantasy points per minute, I think he's an elite play. I think people aren't going to play him also because now you have Siakam, essentially team to himself. And we've seen actually Pascal Siakam be extended a lot lately. 2 of the last 3 games Pascal Siakam's played, he's played 37 minutes. That's not something we had seen for like a month straight. So I think, I get why no one's going up to Durant, but I think this is a extremely loaded position. Kevin Durant, 91 is great. Mobley, 87 is great. You can always play Triple J in a tournament. Pascal Siakam, 83 is great. PJ Washington looks excellent without everybody and 8 guys overall. Josh Hart, we just talked about. Chet's really popular. We don't really know how much he's gonna demand the ball with everyone
Chet's the second
out,
highest
but,
roster player at the position outside of Aaron Wiggins. So
yeah, I love Chet. I mean, that whole range is really, really appealing. So I think from Durant to Chet, there's truthfully no wrong answer. I think there's basically nothing but elite tournament and cash game plays.
If people got ruled out for Denver, Michael Porter Jr. is here. Obviously, we would consider.
Yep.
What do you do with Filipowski now? Kessler's in, Marketing's out.
I ignore him completely.
All right. Where do you go next then?
Just on Powers' comment on Allen over Mobley, the numbers completely back Evan Mobley here. Jared Allen's been fine. He's about a fantasy point per minute, and obviously he's significantly cheaper. So if you look at it from that lens, then he's fine. But the numbers are definitively in Evan Mobley's on the Evan Mobley side. 1.5 fantasy points per minute, better than Donovan Mitchell. So I would lean Mobley if you're not factoring in price. After not acting like Kyle Filipowski is even alive, Aaron Gordon, 52, I think with or without the Denver guys is in play. Wiggins at 51. Sohan at 48, I think is definitely in play. Peyton Watson would obviously be something you could play. Ryan Dunn here. Kenrich Williams was getting a lot of ownership basically all day. It's kind of subsided a little bit. It's okay, but that's basically it.
The dress coach Chris's question of Giddey versus Grimes. You had to pick one last minute.
Grimes for me. Grimes.
P. Wayne wants to know the best 2 spend ups. You think Mitchell's one of them, and then Luka probably, or Towns?
Towns. We'll get to the center.
Let's get to center now. Joker's 12-9. You can always play him. Currently at 17%. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Towns cover the live show.
I mean, just remember the Jokic stuff when they played the Lakers last time. They doubled them.
They
every
don't
time
have
he
LeBron
caught the ball,
anymore, though, so changes things. Different men doubling him potentially. Towns, $9,900.
Yeah, I think Karl Anthony Towns stands out, and the ownership has fallen off a cliff. He was popular in the morning. He's not anymore. The knee looks good. He's moving well. No Brunson this year, 33% usage, 1.6 fantasy points per minute. Spurs this month, 30th in defense, 26th in points in the paint, 28th in second chance. Checkmate. I think there's the outside chance that Karl Anthony Towns is your highest scorer of the day.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you and I both talked about it at length yesterday. Worst defense in the NBA since when we went down. Towns, no Jalen Brunson this year is like a 33% usage rate. It's all right there for him to go out and have a dominant performance. So I am with you on Towns there. Ryan says Joker will not hit against LA. I'll never say Joker won't hit against anybody. Man has 100-point game. He has a 99-point game, I think, this year.
He has 30, 20, 20 in a game.
He can do it against anybody. Will he do it? I will remain to be seen. I'll never make a bet that he won't, though. We went to Chet again last night when we built our lineup at 76. If you're not getting to Towns, has that changed for you at all? Or is there a different center you would look? I mean, like Walker Kessler playing now has played over 30 minutes. He had an 8-block game. He had an 8-stock game. Washington's been like one of the worst teams against centers as well. Like, does Walker Kessler now pop on the page for you?
He doesn't pop on the page. He's like in the corner somewhere. His name was like written down in like the middle of all the doodles on the page. Isaiah Hartenstein stands out to me if he plays. $6,400. He's been super good. He's an elite passer. The offense will flow through him a lot without SGA on the floor and without J-Dub on the floor. That's just kind of how they operate. So I think Hartenstein, Alex Sarr at 64. I really like Alex Sarr at $6,400. You could play Klingon in a tournament, Kai Jones in a tournament, 52. I think Jackson Hayes at 5K has been really, really good. Like really, really good lately. And if you want to play him, like you can do that too. He is over a fantasy point per minute without LeBron, AD, and D'Lo on the floor this year. He is probably Luka's #1 fan because he is making him look like a serviceable center in the NBA. So that's probably where the rest of my center exposure goes. There's
no real values that you would play unless guys got ruled out randomly, right?
No, I found it incredibly interesting today, once again, having to do with Washington. First ownership run of the day, Tristan Vukcevic.
We did have
a question at some point.
It was a Josie that had it. Scrolling all the way up. Where was that?
No, it's right here. You don't even need to, can you trust Tristan Vuk or no? You were correct. It was Josie. I found it very interesting that he was the 3rd highest rostered player. It was just Washington to start the day. And now he's barely getting any ownership. And now Rashawn Holmes is getting projections everywhere. And that's the part that I don't get. Because he played over Rashawn Holmes last game. But it is a large field. The answer to your question is no, unless you're playing multiple lineups. Because if they go away from this, like, and they actually just deploy their regular players and everyone plays and like, then it's very hard to trust anything Washington value related other than like AJ Johnson, because AJ Johnson's going to start. But if you see Rashawn Holmes come in, subbing in for Alex Sarr, there is a very good possibility Tristan Vukcevic DMPs. So like he is an absolute animal per minute, monster per minute. We don't know if he's going to play. So like, it's fine if you're playing large field tournament stuff, but it's just impossible to know if the ownership is going to stick or not, or if the minutes and stuff is going to stick.
Yeah. I mean, like the ownership obviously is still not there on Rashawn Holmes, at least in the last updates, back down to 1. Vucevic's at 9, but still like not where it was, like you mentioned earlier. Jaime Jaquez is also now the highest projected rostered player.
He's been great.
I don't know if that is more positional scarcity as well. Like this, you just mentioned it. Detroit's the #1 defensive team in the NBA. I get he's $4,100. That's value. Are you eating Jaquez chalk tonight?
I would, yeah. He's good. I mean, he's been really good 3 straight games. So I think it's a pretty viable.
Sure.
A pretty viable.
Wayne, we'll open the lineup now. I mean, we're projecting Johnson probably still to start. Smart doesn't start. Poole would start. So
my guess, this is just like, because now Keyshawn George is out too, so it's like anyone's guess. But my guess, Poole, Sarr, Johnson, Champagny, Martin would be my guess. But I also not confident in that.
All right, well, let's do our best to build a lineup here. I plugged Townsend. You said you might think he might be the highest scoring player on the slate. You also like Donovan Mitchell? Go there at $8,900. You mentioned all this value that we now have to look at here, and Dallas, right? So Dallas and Washington is what we're looking at here. Washington plays late.
AJ Johnson. I'm comfortable playing AJ Johnson. I'm comfortable there.
AJ Johnson. What's your Dallas exposure here?
Dinwiddie or PJ or both?
Dinwiddie. Okay, I definitely like PJ. So Dinwiddie, go Washington.
It's funny. Dinwiddie's ownership has skyrocketed, and people are playing Spencer Dinwiddie. People are playing Jaden Hardy. Nobody's playing anything else from Dallas, but they have 8 guys. So,
wrong Wiggins.
Aaron. Yes, definitely don't play Andrew Wiggins.
4,600 for forward and a util. So it could go the Jaquez here value. A small forward, and then that gives us a $5,100. We had a 5K play. I thought Christie, Keldon. What do we think there?
Neither.
You just talked about all the 39 minutes. You don't think Christie gets all the run here?
I think 39 minutes, but he's fine.
Okay.
I'm not like we're building a tournament lineup. I think Max Christie sits in like he's fine in cash and he's fine in like single entry and stuff.
We're gonna have a lot of extra cash then if we go play value, guys. If we did like Isaiah Joe, I think it was $800. That would get us.
I mean,
you want Donovan Mitchell though, but that would be like the move up to like Edwards.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care about the cash.
Yeah. Okay.
I would play Donovan Mitchell. I ranked him first. So I personally would play Donovan Mitchell there.
Oh, example lineup at $800 then, everybody. Johnson, Mitchell, Wiggins, Washington, Towns, Dinwiddie, Jaquez, and Joe. Can play it how you want. Again, Grande's really in on Towns and Mitchell here tonight. I think there's 100 different ways to build a lineup today. And there's more value to come. So you got to stay by your phones, get in that Discord, make sure you're paying attention. There's 4 games at 10 p.m. and later with big injury news to pay attention to in those games as well. There's a lot of value, or there's 8 players on a team starting at 7, so you could just lock your lineup and not have the flexibility late. Make sure you move your guys around so you can make some of those decisions later on in the night if you can. But have fun with it. Again, we'll be back tonight with the preview show and we'll be live tomorrow. Until then, everybody, we'll talk to you later.